The Volkswagen Amarok is built across the Andes just behind me in Argentina. However, we're on the left-hand side of South America's famous mountain range today to drive a new ute that claims to be even posher. This is the Mercedes-Benz X-Class, the German luxury brand's highly anticipated effort to unload buyers not just from the VW, but also the likes of the Toyota Hilux and Ford Ranger. We're in Chile to drive what is the world's first premium ute, if you ignore a couple of models from Lincoln and Cadillac that were sold only in the US at the start of this century. Mercedes says the X-Class brings passenger car dynamics and refinement to the classic workhorse ute segment, aiming to capitalise on their ever-growing appeal as a lifestyle vehicle alternative to an SUV. The mechanicals and underpinnings have a humble origin, borrowed from the Nissan Navara, though the sheet metal is all new, and Mercedes says it has modified virtually every area to improve MVH and handling. This includes beefed up sound deadening and a wider track version of the Navara's independent front axle and solid rear axle setup. Yet the X-Class's tray is also a bit more practical than the Navara's. It's about 8 centimetres longer, making it one of the longest in the segment. And while the tray width is identical, because of the X-Class's wider tracks, you can fit an Australian-sized pallet between the wheel arches, and you can't do that in the Nissan. There's also a 1 tonne plus payload, up to 3.5 tonnes of brake towing capacity and proper off-roading ability. But can the model set to be the most expensive dual-cab ute you can buy bring some genuine luxury vehicle touches to the segment? Well, there is benchmark active safety with standard tech such as autonomous emergency braking. And the X-Class's interior is relatively classy and spacious up front. The tough but smart cabin design is enhanced progressively from the base model Pure to mid-range Progressive, while our X250D power test car puts the best foot forward as the flagship trim grade. The seats are upholstered in artificial leather and microfiber, and Power adds key features such as dual zone climate control while introducing a biggest in class 8.4-inch infotainment screen, which is complemented by the touchpad and rotary controller standard across the lineup. There's still more hard plastic than you'll find in any Mercedes passenger car. Console storage is limited, and the rear seat is better for legroom than it is headroom. If the Mercedes interior still takes the fight to the Amarok, can its driving experience lead the way more assertively? I think we can make an early call that the X-Class isn't going to be a game changer in the way that dual cab utes handle. You're still going to have more cornering fun in a Mercedes SUV, such as the GLC. Yes, the steering is nice and smooth, but it's also a little bit remote, and it also requires a fair bit of arm twirling. It's not the slowest steering in the segment. As you see here, as I tip into a corner here, now I'm putting on a fair degree of steering lock through these corners, but they're not particularly sharp. But that's not to say the X-Class is unwieldy, certainly isn't. And where those wide tracks are advantageous for the styling and also the tray practicality, they also lend the X-Class with plenty of confidence-inspiring cornering stability. Dynamically, ride quality is hugely promising. Now, we did detect a little bit of lumpiness travelling around the streets of Santiago, so we need to see how that's going to translate to Australian roads. But certainly out on the freeway and some of these bumpy Chilean country roads, the suspension is displaying a lovely relaxing suppleness. Never gets bouncy, very nicely controlled, and that's not something you can say about every dual cab ute. Also impressive is refinement. It's clear Mercedes engineers have put a lot of effort into the installation of the X-Class. That lack of noise intrusion extends to the Renault-Nissan 4-cylinder twin-turbo diesel fitted to our X250D. Yes, there's a little bit of classic diesel clatter at lower revs, but generally on the move, and even when you get some revs on board, it's surprisingly quiet. It's also not bereft of grunt. You've got 450 Newton meters at your disposal. However, at times you can be aware that you're trying to shift 2-point-something tons of vehicle weight. So I would be sorely tempted by the V6 Mercedes diesel that's coming out in mid-2018. And that's promising to be the most powerful engine in the class, 190 kilowatts. In some respects, the X-Class promises to be the S-Class of utes we were hoping it might be, especially in terms of its refinement and open road ride. Yet if it's proved to be more than just a spruced up Navara, there are enough drawbacks to suggest the Mercedes isn't the shoe-in to displace the Volkswagen Amarok as the segment benchmark, as might have been expected. And that's even without an answer to a key question: just how much of a premium will you have to pay for the world's first premium ute?